Hello, this is Cannondale and today I'm going to make a video about a super cool and fast bike. It is a Cannondale CAAD 10 2015. I've tested my Cannondale CAAD 10 in very rough conditions here in Iceland. Today there is some super nice weather, but believe me, it wasn't, and I will show you that in a minute. This is a version with the Shimano 105 components and the FSA Gossamer crankset, and I really love the bike. Why? Let's talk about the frame, more about components of Shimano 105. I'm gonna do another video because I have quite a bit to talk about actually. I'm going to use this bike also for the third video in which I'll be talking about buyer's guide for the beginners. Alright, so this is the Cannondale 10 super cool frame in this particular size, 56 centimeters. The frame anodized weighs 1150 grams, which is really awesome. The bike has a full carbon fork, which means that not only the blades but also the steering tube inside is made out of carbon. Down here you can see that the fork has some offset here, which makes the bike to respond superbly, really. Well, I don't really understand, for example, the journalists or reviewers who take the bike just, you know, on the road and spin a little bit and then come and write an article that the frame is very responsive and very comfortable and so on and so on. To be honest, the road bike I was riding the most was the Cannondale CAAD 8 from 2012 on Tiagra components, and it was lovely. I just loved the bike. I can say that that bike actually opened a whole different world of road biking, because I've been a mountain biker for many years. That's why I decided to buy this one. I really loved the CAAD 8, and to be completely honest, if you ride a bike like CAAD 8 or any just, you know, good road bike, and then you sit on this one, you won't feel much difference, you know, just by riding on some roads for like 20 or maybe even more kilometers. But in the conditions that I tried the bike here, like making 100 kilometers in rain and with a wind speed of like 15 up to 20 meters per second, then I could really tell you that the bike was comfortable. When I was getting cold, I didn't really feel that much of the buzz of the road, and here in Iceland some of the roads can be really rough, because when they get icy then they are not that slippery. Let's talk about the frame a little bit, or maybe in details actually. The geometry of CAAD 10 bike is actually the same geometry as the Super 6 Evo has, which means that this bike has to be light and it really has a racy position. Alright, so the head tube here is 155 millimeters, and then it's got a huge connection with the down tube, which is huge here. It's really stiff. This is the oversized tubes as Cannondale has been making for many years already. And then what helps the frame, what makes the frame so comfortable? Well, these are some technologies here. Let's look at the first one. This is the seat tube, and down there you can see the sign Delta seat tube, which means that this tube has actually the shape of a triangle here. As you can see down here, it goes wider and wider, and then the connection with bottom bracket is really stiff, strong, powerful, and I'm sure Cannondale didn't use too much materials here, but still they cut some of those materials in CAAD 12 that comes next year. Actually, it's already available. But anyway, the connection here is really stiff. This changing shape of the seat tube make it working perfectly with the rear triangle, with the seat stays and chain stays, in order to absorb vibration. How does it make? Well, the seat stays, you can read it, thin line technology. It is really thin, but it's thin when you look at it just from the side. From behind, it's actually quite thick, so the frame is really stiff just where you want it to be, and flexible just to save a little bit of your butt. Down here you can see the sign speed and anti-vibration safe, and again, when you look at this chain stays from the side, it is really thin here, but it gets thicker to the back to make a stiff connection with the wheel. And when you come to the front, it makes actually it becomes actually quite huge, again making the bottom bracket really strong and stiff and super light. When you look at it from above, it shows you, yes, you can speed with the bike, you can sprint on the bike, and it will be super stiff and super responsive. Cannondale used all the technologies available for this wonderful manufacturer in terms of the aluminum, which means that this frame is actually both hydroformed and mechanically formed. Then again, we have the double paths smooth welds, which are really smooth and really strong. So the shaping is just wonderful. Of course, there is some thermal treatment to the frame, to this aluminum frame, and all the tubes are butted. When we look at this connection here, actually it reminds us of many welds and also the shapes of the carbon, not only road but also mountain bikes here. So the weld or the connection is much wider than the seat tube itself, which enables this upper tube wider here and make again very stiff connection. Of course, the racing bike frame is not designed to absorb the shocks, but actually it makes the vibration much less up here on your butt and on your back. And I can tell you that I didn't really feel that I've made so many kilometers here on the rough roads. I've been making some 18% uphills and downhills. There was a very strong wind. I was getting cold at the end, but still I felt like I could, run forever with this bike. The wheelset in CAAD 10 105 is Shimano RS11. I'm happy that these have those green graphics here. The graphics here in design of the frame is just awesome. But the wheels are, I would say, okay. Of course, these are not expensive wheels, but sometimes when I'm sprinting and maybe hitting some bumps on the way, you can hear the rim hitting the brakes. Of course, it happens with many wheels, but I think that those RS11 Shimano wheelset could be a little bit more stiff. The FSA Gossamer chain set is of course compatible with BB30 bottom bracket. The BB30 here, it means that the diameter of the crank's spindle is 30 millimeters, which makes the crank very stiff and very light. And of course also the bearings, which are here on both sides, are oversized, are super light, and they are super strong. Some cyclists would say that the BB30 bottom bracket can be noisy. Well, I don't know, it can be noisy with some carbon frames, I would say, but I have this BB30 in my CAAD 8. There was absolutely no noise, and in this on this bike, when sprinting, when pushing hard up the hills, when standing, when riding rough roads, no noises at all. And finally, the 105 Shimano components are great. I have to tell you that I'm dreaming of a Campagnolo, perhaps Chorus or something like that, maybe in the future. But as of 105, I have to tell you that the brakes are very, very good. These are dual pivot brakes, and I love the shifters. Actually, I mean the shape of it, of the levers. These are really great, and I feel very, very comfortable. Like the shape of it is like shape of my hand. And then there is, of course, the gearing. I will tell more about in the review of this Shimano 105 components, but in this video I will just tell you that in the front it's super awesome. On the back I'm not quite happy with it. And one more thing which is very, very important for me personally when I buy a new bike is the saddle. I always change the saddle into the model that I have. Currently I'm using the saddle, I think it's San Marco Aspite with a hole in it. It's lovely, very comfortable, and doesn't make any troubles to my veins. But I have to tell you that this Prologo Kappa Evo is awesome because I didn't have to change it. It says here active density. There are some signs like 40, 50, 60, and you can really tell that the density of the saddle here changes. I've been using saddle with the holes for years, like Specialized and now this San Marco, but this one doesn't have it, and still I feel very, very comfortable. Also the shape of it is interesting for me because I've noticed that during long rides I tend to move a little bit forward on the saddle, and then after, I don't know, 20-30 minutes I move to the back, and I feel like I'm riding like two saddles, and it makes me feel good on my butt. So this CAAD 10 2015 is on sale now, and I think it's the best moment to buy one. The frame is awesome, the bike looks awesome, the bike rides awesome, and you can really use the bike to compete in races, and you can put many carbon bikes to shame. Alright, hope this was helpful. See you soon, bye. But as of 105